All right, so today we're continuing with the nervous system. I'm going to share something with you. I was able to figure out how to share over here and share with the Zoomies. I know, I'm really good. Do me a favor, can you turn the lights off for me? So now I got to share with you. I forgot to do that part. Okay, so here's the word. Corpus callosum. Has anybody heard of these words before? And if you haven't, that's fine, because you probably shouldn't, because it's new. It's some part of your brain. Corpus callosum. Okay, so here it is. It is a nerve fiber that connects the left and right hemispheres of the brain. That is what it means. Nerve fiber that connects the left and the right hemispheres of the brain. And if you guys remember, we did learn what hemisphere means. What does hemisphere mean when we're talking about the brain? Someone unmute, maybe? Tell us. Someone in class, maybe? What do you think, Nick?
A side.
Yeah, a side of your brain, right? Left side, right side. This is my left side. This is my right side. I don't know how it looks in Zoom if it's flipped, but that's true, okay? So the corpus callosum is in your brain. It's in the middle, and it is a nerve fiber that connects the left hemisphere, the left side of your brain, to the right hemisphere, which is the right side of your brain. And it allows both sides of the brain to communicate to each other. Very important to remember that, okay? It allows both sides to communicate to each other and kind of tell each other what's going on their side. Sounds funny. I'm trying to say it in layman's terms so you guys could understand, okay? So without it, without the corpus callosum, the hemispheres of your brain would not be able to communicate. Would not be able to communicate. Now we're going to watch a video today, like 10 minutes or so. And it's important to remember a few things from what we learned in the past before watching this video. And so I'm going to kind of talk about a few points for you to remember. If you don't already have these things written down, you might want to write it down. One, for your notes, right? But two, so that when you're watching this video, if you forget something, you can kind of look down and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because if you don't remember these things and you're watching this video, you might get lost. All right. So if we remember, right, you have the left hemisphere and you have the right hemisphere. Can someone tell me which hemisphere is responsible for processing words and letters and speech? Left or right? What? The left. That's correct. Okay. So I'll say that again. The left hemisphere is responsible for processing words, letters, speech. Okay. The right hemisphere, does anyone remember what the right hemisphere is responsible for processing based on one of the questions of your reading assignment that you had before?
You're touching basically your senses.
Not
all of them, but like
no. Go ahead, Abby. Say that again. Okay. So she said it's responsible for processing faces, places, and objects. Faces, like your face. So if you see somebody's face, you know that it's a face because the right side of the brain is responsible for processing that. And places and objects, right? Phone. So let me just kind of give you a silly example. You might laugh at me, but I feel like if I do it this way, it'll really help you understand the video. So objects, right? Water bottle, phone, keys, right? So phone. I'm looking at this, and for me to know what this object is, the right side, my right hemisphere is processing that, right? But when I'm looking at this, in order for me to know it's a phone, P-H-O-N-E, the word, the left side of my brain is responsible for processing that word, right? So what happens is, because of the corpus callosum, my left and my right hemisphere are able to communicate, which now I know that this object, what it looks like is a phone, and I put the word to this object, phone, and that's happening in my head because of the corpus callosum being able to have those two sides communicate, okay? The last thing you need to remember before we watch this video is that your left hemisphere controls the right side of your body, and your right hemisphere controls the left side of your body. Opposite. Very important to remember, okay? So there's this dude, right? And I'm not gonna lie to you, this video is a little outdated, but the information in it is super cool, all right? So this guy, he had terrible seizures. And I'm talking 2-3 times a day, affect his life. And I'm not a surgeon, I'm not a doctor, I don't know why, but the doctors discovered that if they severed or if they cut the corpus callosum, that it would really help get rid of his seizures. And so that's what they did. And this video is going to kind of be talking about how that kind of works, right? Because the communication between left and right can no longer happen inside of his brain. The communication is now happening outside of his body. So if you remember those few things, what each hemisphere processes, and if you remember the left side of your brain controls the right side of your body and the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body, you're going to understand this a lot more. Okay? So let's watch this together. Stop my video here. And something's wrong with the speakers up here, of course. You should be able to hear it. So let's watch. Can you guys see this at home, Zoomers? Can I get a yes? Someone on me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, great. And you can hear it, right?
Yeah.
Our journey into
You can hear that?
Yeah.
Perfect. Here we go.
human brain here on the campus of Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. I'd come to meet one of the world's leading brain scientists, Mike Gazzaniga, and a man he's worked with for over a decade. A man with two brains. You've been working a long time with Dr. Gazzaniga?
14 or 15 years.
It doesn't seem like that long, does it?
The collaboration began when Joe had surgery, and you had this procedure to correct an epileptic problem.
Yes.
Is that right?
Trying to stop the seizures. I was having seizures like every day or so, or sometimes 2 or 3 a day.
To control Joe's epileptic seizures, a surgeon severed the connection between the two halves of his brain. Cutting the corpus callosum like this prevented the spread of the electric storms that caused his seizures. But it also prevented the left and right halves of his brain from communicating with each other. In the years since the operation, Joe's epilepsy has been under control. He now earns a living at an egg farm, and in his everyday life, he's largely unaffected by the fact that his left and his right brains work independently. Do you feel any different when you think about something than you did any differently from the way you felt before the procedure?
It's just got a backup brain, that's all.
That's something everybody could use, right? I found out how true that was right away when I was asked to draw a different shape with each hand. In a brain like mine, roughly speaking normal, at least all in one piece, the left half of my brain controls the right side of my body, while the right brain controls the left side.
Oh, no.
But because the two halves are connected,
Nothing wrong with that.
getting each hand to work independently isn't easy.
Well, we're seeing the fact that Alan's hemispheres are connected, and that the motor messages from one are confusing the motor messages in the other.
I was just drawing an upside-down duck.
Okay.
But when Joe is given the same task, his two hands operate as if controlled by two separate brains. What's happening is that each half of Joe's brain is given a separate instruction. He's asked to fix his eyes on the cross in the center of the screen. Anything flashed to the right of the cross goes only to his left hemisphere. Things to the left go to his right hemisphere. Because the two don't communicate, each hand does only what its half of the brain sees.
Wow, look at that. It's really like two different people doing the same.
That's right.
Same task.
That's the idea.
Okay, Joe, I want you to keep your hands up.
In an experiment that's now a classic in brain research, Mike Gazzaniga over 30 years ago used a similar setup to find out if the two halves of the brain are specialized to do different things.
Ship.
Joe is being flashed a word only to one half of his brain. Words flashed to the right
Storm.
are seen only by his left brain, and Joe can report seeing those words just fine.
Piano. Good.
But when a word is flashed to his right brain,
Didn't see that. Okay. Joe, I'm going to ask you
but now watch what happens.
to draw that with your.
So I'm pausing that real quick because I want to remind you, if you guys noticed, the word that got flashed to the right side of his brain was the word phone. But if you guys remember, is the right side of the brain responsible for processing words? Yes or no?
No.
No. Okay. So that's why he said he doesn't know. Okay. He doesn't know the word. But now they gave him a piece of paper and a pencil and they asked him, draw what you saw. Because if you remember, the right side of the brain is responsible for objects, places, and faces, right? Phone is an object. So watch what happens. He's going to draw something that he has no idea what it is. He just saw an object, but he doesn't know what it is because his brain cannot communicate with his brain, right? In our minds, for us, we can say phone and see the object in our head, but he cannot. So the communication doesn't happen in his brain. Look what happens and look where the communication occurs.
10. You're going to be lost. Why don't you try drawing another picture of it over here if that will help you? Oh, phone. Oh, okay.
It's almost as though somebody has given him a secret communication.
That's
and
right.
Now he knows that it's a telephone. Like up until then, he was blind to it.
Exactly.
When Gazzaniga first did this experiment, it instantly proved that the ability to speak resides almost exclusively in the left hemisphere. Not until he sees what his right brain is drawing is Joe able to name it.
He said church then.
After looking at the picture.
But he had to figure it out about as long as we did. That's really interesting. It's a picture here of somebody communicating almost with another person.
The communication is not occurring inside the head. It's occurring out on the piece of paper.
Yeah.
Blob. I really don't know.
You want to draw a little bit more?
So far, Joe has been seeing only one word.
Cat. That's a cat
Things get
sound.
even stranger when he's flashed two words, each to only one half of his brain.
The right hemisphere saw toad.
Yeah.
And so his left hand draws a toad.
So there's the toad.
Oh, it's a toad. Right. This time I was able to guess what was coming.
Now
We'll put a little three-legged stool in there later, or what? Joe's speaking left brain saw a stool. Saying the word lets the hand that's controlled by his right brain in on the secret. That's great. That's really interesting. And if he had seen that with the corpus callosum intact, he would have drawn a toadstool.
Right.
Not a toad and a stool.
Right. Exactly the point. I've been doing this for 35 years. Yeah.
And it
gets me every time.
Yeah, it must. It must.
This time, instead of naming the word, I want you to point to the word.
Again, Joe sees two words simultaneously. Bell goes to his non-speaking right brain. Music to his speaking left brain. When asked to point to a picture of what he saw, he chooses Bell. But when asked why,
Okay, why'd you pick that one? Music. Music.
and when asked to explain,
There was music, bell, and those few minutes ago, last time I heard any music was coming from the bells out here, banging away.
So the bell's outside here.
So, look, good enough answer to me.
what's extraordinary is that Joe's speaking left brain concocts a plausible story of why he pointed to Bell, even when some of the other pictures more obviously represent music. Gazzaniga believes this determination to find cause and effect, this desire to explain, is the left hemisphere's most marvelous property.
One of the unique things to the human brain is this need to interpret why two events occurred. What was the antecedent of this? What caused this? And if you can imagine that a species like us that has that little chip in its brain that asks those questions is going to survive rather well, because it's going to figure out more about the nature of the world than a species that doesn't have that.
Okay, Joe, I want you to keep your hand.
But as I was about to discover, the right brain has a very useful survival skill all its own.
So before I press play and we watch the end of this, someone tell me again, the right side of the brain, the right side is responsible for processing places, objects, and what? Zoomers?
Faces.
Faces. Good. All right, let's check it out.
I think will happen here.
So for you, we're doing a live experiment. Never done it before.
The experiment involves the 16th century Italian painter Arcimboldo, who made faces out of fruit, flowers, meat, even books. From other research, there's reason to believe that the ability to recognize faces is located exclusively in the right hemisphere. So Mike wondered if Arcimboldo's paintings would look different to each of Joe's two brains.
So will his left hemisphere say, I saw a potato, I didn't see a face? And will his right hemisphere say, I saw the face, and not comment on the fact it was made out of a potato?
You're going to see a figure followed by a choice of two words.
This works. It'll be terrific, but we'll see. So here it is, live.
Okay.
The first painting goes to the right hemisphere. And Joe points to face. The next painting goes to his left brain. And this time he points to fruits. Mike seemed pleased.
Having a moment?
This is too good.
Again to the right brain, and Joe sees it as a face.
Point it down.
But to the left brain,
Face made out of books.
Okay, so that pretty much, that experiment that they had with Joe pretty much just proved that it was completely true. And because of his severed corpus callosum, it proved that if something got flashed to the right side, he saw the face. And if something got flashed to the left side, he saw what it was made out of and not the actual face, whether it was books or fruit, vegetables, food, whatever. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so today, your exit ticket, and this can only be an exit ticket for those of you that are caught up on all of the assignments, okay? So there are a number of students who are still missing one or both of the 2 graded assignments that we have in Schoology. Right now, Schoology and Sapphire have the same amount of assignments. And please remember that Schoology grade looks higher than Sapphire grade because Schoology marks assignments that are not completed as excused instead of a 0. And Sapphire marks it as a 0, as it should if it's not completed. So just remember that moving forward. Okay, so it is not published yet. I'm going in right now. I'm going to publish it. What I would like you to do, based on this video, and please listen carefully, based on the video, you are going to reflect on the video. Did you like it? Was it cool? Was it interesting? Was it stupid? Did you walk away from your computer? Did you not listen? No, don't write you didn't listen. That would be bad. But based on your video, reflect on it, and then add 2 things that you learned from the video. 2 things that you learned from the video. I'm gonna publish the assignment right now. Please keep in mind, okay? Going on to Google and typing in corpus callosum and pressing enter, and then copying what you found and then pasting it into the assignment will result in a 0, and you will not be able to make it up. Why am I saying this? Because I had a lot of kids do that yesterday. So this is your opinion. This is, you know, what you learned and like what you thought of the video. I'm not looking for you guys to write me a book. Heck, I'm not even looking for you guys to write me a paragraph. I'm just asking simple couple things, all right? I am publishing it right now. It is now published. It's called 226 Assignment, Corpus Callosum Reflection. If you guys have any questions at all, please let me know, and I'm here. If you are caught up and you completed all of your assignments, and then you complete this and you submit it, you are free to leave. You don't have to ask me. However, if you finish this and you are missing one of two of the assignments, you must stay on and complete those assignments before you can leave. So you guys are actually right. I was wrong. The only assignment that you have is the asynchronous assignment. And that is because this class was two out of all 6 of my classes that actually was following directions. Do you remember last week when I had you guys get in breakout groups and actually speak to each other? You did well, right? A bunch of my other classes did not. They refused to speak. So I couldn't let them leave 30 minutes early from class. So I gave them an assignment. So that's why my other classes have 2 assignments. You, including today's assignment, you have a total of 2. So you are correct, my bad. So what you're gonna do is you'll do this exit ticket first. That's what you're doing first. If any of you guys are missing the 18th assignment from the 18th last week during the asynchronous snow day, you must do that before leaving. Thank you for letting me know. Completely forgot.